Charles Albanese, he poisoned 3 relatives with arsenic in order to obtain their money. He said thank you to the warden before he was put to death. Franklin Dwayne Alex, he committed at least 3 murders, 2 attempted murders, 9 robberies, 2 essays, and 4 kidnappings. His last statement was, "I am not the monster they made me out to be. I made lots of mistakes that took your son. I messed up. I made poor choices. I'll take it to the grave. I will be at peace. It is what it is. I got peace in my heart." Herman Allen, he murdered 3 of his family members a few years after having been released from prison for a prior murder conviction. His last words were, "I am ready to go. I do not dread it. There is a better world for me. I have had a sad life, but that is over now. I have experienced God in my soul. I am glad to leave this world of sin." Danny Barber, between June 1978 and April 1980, he killed 4 people in the Dallas County, Texas area. Barber received a death sentence for murdering Janice Ingram. His last words were to the mother of Janice and his friends. "Hello, Mrs. Ingram. It is good to see you. I said I could talk, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to. I heard one of your nieces had some angry words. I didn't have anything to do with the stay. I spent the last 20 years waiting to figure out what's going on. I pray that you get over it, and that's the only thing I can think to say. I am regretful for what I've done, but I'm a different person from that time. If you could get to know me over the years, you could have seen it. I've got some people over here that believe that. I want to talk to my friends over here for a second. Well, it's good to see you guys. Look after Mary Lynn for me. Like I said, I've called my mother already, so she knows. Goodbye." Velma Barfield. She admitted to a total of 6 murders. Barfield was the first woman executed in the United States since 1962 and the first since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976. In addition, she was the first female to be put to death via lethal injection. I know that everybody has gone through a lot of pain, all the families connected, and I'm sorry, and I want to thank everybody who have been supporting me all these 6 years. Monroe Betterton. After being accused of killing his first wife and given a 99-year jail sentence for killing his second in Missouri, Betterton was eventually released on parole, got married a 3rd time, and relocated to Oklahoma, where he also killed his 3rd wife. Before being executed in the electric chair, his last words were, "Goodbye and God bless you all." Danny Bible. Between 1979 and 1983, he committed 4 murders and multiple essays, earning him the nickname the Ice Pick Killer. He was released early after serving a 25-year prison sentence for 1 murder and not being charged with 2 others. He went on to commit other essays in Montana, Texas, and Louisiana. He admitted to a rape murder in 1979 and the 2 other murders for which he was never prosecuted after his last arrest. He was executed via lethal injection. His last words were, "It hurts, burning." Arthur Gary Bishop. He admitted to killing 5 young boys between 1979 and 1983 as a result of a standard police investigation in 1983. Before his execution via lethal injection, his last words were, "I want to offer again my most profound and heartfelt apologies to my victims' families. I am truly sorry. I have tried my best to empathize with their grief and devastation, and I hope they come to know of my concerns and prayers for them." William Bonin. Between November 1968 and June 1980, he essayed, tortured, and killed young men and boys in Southern California. He was also known as the Freeway Strangler and the Freeway Killer. Although he confessed to 21 killings and was found guilty of 14, he is suspected of numerous more. His last words, left in a note, were, "I feel the death penalty is not an answer to the problems at hand. I feel it sends the wrong message to the people of this country. Young people act as they see other people acting instead of as people tell them to act. I would advise that when a person has a thought of doing anything serious against the law, that before they did, they should go to a quiet place and think about it seriously." Gary Ray Bowles. In 2019, he was put to death for the 1994 killing of 6 men. Because the majority of his victims resided around the Interstate 95 freeway, he is occasionally referred to as the I-95 killer. His last words were directed towards his mother. "Having to deal with your son being called a monster is terrible. I am so very sorry. I never wanted this to be my life. You don't wake up one day and decide to become a serial killer." Charles Anthony Boyd. Between 1986 and 1987, he killed and essayed 3 women in North Dallas, Texas. The local media dubbed the case the bathroom slayings because the bodies of each victim were discovered in their bathrooms. His last words were, "I want you all to know I did not do this crime. I wanted to wait for a 30-day stay for a DNA test so you know who did the crime." Lester Brocklehurst. Known as the crime tourist, he and his companion Bernice Felton spent 6 weeks committing crimes in several states in 1937, killing at least 3 men in holdups. His last words were, "The only thing that brought me down to this was a slight love affair with a girl. I don't want her to get the chair, but she's just as guilty as I." Ted Bundy. We all know of him. He confessed to 30 murders, but he was suspected of over 36 killings. His final words were addressed to Fred Lawrence, a Methodist clergyman, and Jim Coleman, his lawyer. "Jim and Fred, I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." Juan Rodriguez Chavez. Soon after being released from prison for a murder conviction, the thrill killer, together with a teenage accomplice, committed 11 murders in Dallas, Texas, between March and July 1995. His last words were, "To the media, I would like for you to tell all the victims and their loved ones that I am truly, truly sorry for taking their loved ones' lives. And I hope they will find it in their heart to forgive me for what I did to them. I am a different person now, but that does not change the fact of the bad things I have committed. God can give you the same peace He gave me, and you can be in His hands. And to my beautiful family, be strong. Remember what I said. God is the way, the truth, and the life. OK, Warden." Elroy Chester. From 1997 to 1998, he killed 5 people in Port Arthur, Texas. Chester was allegedly responsible for a series of home invasions and essays in the same neighborhood during the 6 months that the killings took place. His last words were, "Don't hate me. I'm sorry for taking your loved one. Elroy Chester wasn't a bad man. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of people say I didn't commit those murders. I really did it." Wesley Allen Dodd. In 1989, he killed 3 young boys in Vancouver, Washington, after essaying them. Later that year, he was taken into custody following an unsuccessful attempt to kidnap a 6-year-old boy at a movie theater. His last words were, "I was once asked by somebody, I don't remember who, if there was any way sex offenders could be stopped. I said no. I was wrong. I was wrong when I said there was no hope, no peace. There is hope, there is peace. I found both in the Lord Jesus Christ. Look at the Lord and you will find peace." Albert Fish. He killed at least 3 children between July 1924 and June 1928. He was a cannibal, rapist, serial killer, and child molester. He was also referred to as the Boogeyman, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, the Gray Man, and the Werewolf of Wisteria. Despite only confessing to 3 murders that the police were able to link to a known homicide, Fish was a suspect in at least 10 murders during his lifetime. James Dempsey, Fish's attorney, disclosed that he had his client's final statement in his possession. This totaled multiple pages of handwritten notes that Fish reportedly wrote in the final hours of his life. Dempsey declined to provide the contents of the document when the gathered journalist pressured him, saying, "I will never show it to anyone. It was the most filthy string of obscenities that I have ever read." John Wayne Gacy. At least 33 young men and boys were essayed, tortured, and killed by him in Norwood Park Township, which is close to Chicago, Illinois. The Killer Clown was his nickname. His last words were directed towards a prison official, and they were, "Kiss my ass." Ray Dempsey Gardner. He killed 3 people in 3 states in the 1940s. His last words were, "I'm ready to go. No one will miss me. My life has been worthless." Santiago Garduno. He committed at least 3 murders in Colorado and New Mexico in the early 20th century. His last words were, "I forgive everyone for whatever has been done. I hold no malice." Lloyd Gomez. From 1950 to 1951, he robbed and killed 9 vagrant men throughout California, earning him the nickname the Phantom Hobo Killer. Only after Gomez confessed to the murders because he was arrested for another crime was he connected to them. In 1953, he was put to death in San Quentin State Prison's gas chamber. His last words were, "I don't want to live anymore." David Allen Gore. In the 1980s, he killed 6 people in Florida's Vero Beach and Indian River counties. He spent 28 years on Florida's death row before being put to death by lethal injection in 2012. His last words were, "I'm sorry. I've had remorse. I'm not the man I was back then. I don't fear death." Samuel Green. He committed numerous murders between 1817 till 1821. He was executed by hanging. At his execution, the priest asked if he was sorry for what he did. With the rope in place, Green looked at the priest for a long time and responded with a slight grin that curled upward. "If you wish it." Terry Hankins. In Mansfield, Texas, he murdered 5 family members between October 2000 and August 2001. His last words were, "I am sorry for what I've done and for all the pain and suffering my actions have caused. Jesus is Lord. All glory to God." George Hassel. On December 5, 1926, he murdered his wife and 8 children, ages 1 to 21, in Farwell, Texas. He was a mass murderer and serial killer. In 1917, in California, he also murdered his first wife and 3 stepchildren. His last words were, "I would like to announce to the world that I am prepared to meet my God. I have made my confession to God and man. Man does not understand it all, but God does." Boone Helm. The Kentucky Cannibal was a serial killer, Old West gunfighter, and mountain man from the United States. Helm's opportunistic and unrepentant tendency to consume human flesh, usually in survival situations, was the source of his nickname. When Helm witnessed his friend Gallagher being hanged, he allegedly said, "Kick away, old fellow. My turn next. I'll be in hell with you in a minute." Helm is reported to have cried out, "Every man for his principles," as the executioner drew closer. "Hurrah for Jeff Davis, let her rip," and then, before it could be kicked away, leaped from the hangman's box. John Rothel Henry. A few years after being released on parole for the 1975 murder of his first wife, he was found guilty in Florida of the 1985 murders of his second wife and stepson. Henry was put to death at the Florida State Prison in 2014. His last words were, "I can't undo what I've done. If I could, I would. I ask for your forgiveness if you can find it in your heart." H. Holmes. For the murder of Benjamin, his collaborator in multiple of his scams, Holmes was found guilty and given the death penalty. Holmes did, however, confess to 27 murders, some of which involved individuals who were proven to be alive. He is also thought to have murdered 3 of Benjamin's children, 3 mistresses, 1 mistress's sister, and another mistress's child. He was hanged on May 7, 1896. One of his last statements, made in the confession he signed in prison before his execution, was, "I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than a poet can help the inspiration to sing." John Michael Hooker. He killed his girlfriend and her mother in Oklahoma in 1988 after having served time for a manslaughter conviction as a teenager. His last words were, "Y'all stay up. I am out." William Johansen. Between 1933 and 1940, he killed 3 women in New York and California, including his first wife. Soon after his last murder, he was taken into custody, and the following year, he was put to death in the gas chamber at San Quentin State Prison. His final statement was given to reporters and it said, "I don't give a damn if I go to the gas house. Not much doubt I'm a menace. I've killed 3 women and I'd probably do it again unless they get me out of the way. I expect the worst and the sooner it comes, the better." John Joubert. He was found guilty of killing 3 boys, 2 in Nebraska and 1 in Maine. His last words were, "I just want to say that again I am sorry for what I've done. I do not know if my death will change anything or if it will bring anyone peace. And I just ask the families of Danny Eberly and Christopher Walden and Richard Stetson to please try to find some peace and ask the people of Nebraska to forgive me. That's all." Leroy Keith. During robberies in New York and Ohio, he killed 3 individuals. After being granted parole despite receiving 2 death sentences in Ohio, he went on to murder 2 more people before being put to death at Sing Sing in 1959. His last words were, "Sooner or later, we all come to justice. I was disappointed in Governor Rockefeller." Edward LeGrone. About 7 years after being freed from prison for a prior murder, he was found guilty in May 1991 of shooting and killing 3 members of the Lloyd family in Fort Worth, Texas, including a 10-year-old girl he had impregnated. His last words were, "I just want to say I'm not sad today. I'm not bitter with anyone. As I've said from day one, I didn't go there and kill them, but I'm no better than the people that did. Jesus is Lord." Anthony Larette. He was found guilty in 1980 of a single murder in St. Charles, Missouri, and then admitted to 31 murders in 11 states beginning in the late 1960s, 15 of which were closed on the basis of information given by him to the authorities. Larette was executed in 1995. His last words were, "I'm sorry it had to come this way." Peter Manuel. Between 1956 and the time of his arrest in January 1958, he was found guilty of killing 7 individuals in Lanarkshire and southern Scotland. It is thought that he killed 2 more. The media dubbed him the Beast of Birkenshaw before he was apprehended. At Glasgow's Barlinnie prison, Manuel was hanged on July 11, 1958. His last words were, "Turn up the radio and I'll go quietly." Rhonda Bell Martin. For the 1951 murder of her 4th husband, Claude Carroll Martin, she was put to death by the state of Alabama. Martin was charged of poisoning and killing her own mother and 5 of her 7 children, all of whom were under the age of 12 when they perished, using rat poison as her means of murder. Ronald Martin, her 5th husband and former stepson, was the only one of her victims known to have survived. She didn't have a formal last statement, but she did leave a note in which she said, "I want doctors to find out why I committed the crimes I committed. I can't understand it, for I had no reason whatsoever. There's definitely something wrong." Stephen Morin. Between 1969 and 1981, he is suspected of killing 7 adults and at least 40 young girls and women. His last words were, "Father, forgive these people, for they know not what they do. Forgive them as you have forgiven me, and I have forgiven them. Lord Jesus, I commit my soul to you." Earl Nelson. Known in the media as the Gorilla Man, the Gorilla Killer, and the Dark Strangler, he was a serial killer, rapist, and necrophile who is considered the first known serial killer of the 20th century. He is thought to have killed between 22 and 29 people. His last words before being hanged were, "I forgive those who have wronged me." Carl Panzram. He was a mass murderer, rapist, child molester, arsonist, robber, thief, burglar, serial killer, and spree killer. Panzram was suspected of murdering over 100 boys and men in the United States alone and several more in Portuguese Angola. He admitted to killing 21 boys and men in his confessions and in his memoirs. In 1930, Panzram was hanged for killing a prison staff member. When asked for any last words, he responded, "Yes, hurry it up, you Hoosier bastard. I could kill 12 men while you're screwing around." Earl Richmond. Between April and November 1991, he killed 4 people in New Jersey and North Carolina, including 2 children. Before the killings, Richmond was a drill sergeant in the U.S. Army at Fort Dix in New Jersey, where he essayed several women. In 2005, he was put to death by lethal injection. His last words were, "I'd like to extend my deepest apologies to all the victims' families and their loved ones. I'd like to say that I am not a man that shies away from his responsibilities. I'd like to say that I hope that now, through my death, that y'all can move forward with your lives. Thank you and God bless you." John Wesley Robinson. Robinson first received a 15-year prison sentence for the 1896 murder of his fiancée in St. Louis, Missouri. He would later become well known for the 1913 double murder of his wife and stepdaughter in Kansas City. He was given the death penalty and then put to death in 1915. His last words were, "I am happy, I am ready to go." Anthony Allen Shore. He was a child molester and serial killer from the United States who killed 3 girls and 1 woman. Because he used the bamboo stick or toothbrush to tighten or loosen a ligature, he earned the nickname Tourniquet Killer. The device resembled a twitch or garrote, which farmers used to manage horses. Shore received a death sentence in 2004 and was put to death on January 18, 2018 via lethal injection. His last words were, "Oh, I can feel that." Edward Bates Soper. He was a serial killer from the U.S. Soper killed a son from his second wife near Portland, Oregon, 2 years after being pursued for the murder of his first wife and 2 daughters in Archie, Missouri in 1895. He confessed to 5 killings during his life after being arrested, beginning with the 1880 murder of his father. His last words were, "All is done." Gerald Stano. He admitted to 41 murders and killed at least 23 young women and girls, though the authorities estimate that his actual victim count may have been closer to 88. He was executed on March 23, 1998, and his final words were, "I am innocent, I am frightened. I was threatened and I was held month after month without any real legal representation. I confess to crimes I did not commit." Charles Starkweather. Between November 1957 and January 1958, when he was just 19 years old, he killed 11 people in Nebraska and Wyoming. Between January 21 and January 29, 1958, when he was arrested, he murdered 10 of his victims. Carol Ann Fugate, Starkweather's 14-year-old girlfriend, was with him when he went on the rampage in 1958. Fugate and Starkweather were both found guilty of their roles in the killings. 17 months after the killings, Starkweather was given the death penalty and put to death. Fugate was released from prison in 1976 after serving 17 years. He was executed on June 25, 1959, and he was only 20 years old. He did not have a final statement, but in a letter he sent to his father before the execution, he said, "Dad, I'm not real sorry for what I did, because for the first time, me and Carol had more fun." Thomas Andrew Williamson. He was initially given the death penalty for a murder that occurred in Illinois in 1868, but it was later reduced to 20 years in prison, and he was freed after 11 years. After that, he relocated to Missouri, where in 1889 and 1890, he killed his wife and 2 other men. He was found guilty of the killings, given a second death sentence, and put to death in 1891. His last words were, "I should have been hung 30 years ago." Robert Lee Willie. Between the late 1970s and early 1980s, he murdered at least 3 people in Louisiana. He was executed in 1984 after receiving a death sentence for the essay and killing of 18-year-old Faith Hathaway. His last words were, "I hope you get some relief from my death. Killing people is wrong. That's why you've put me to death. It makes no difference whether it's citizens, countries, or governments. Killing is wrong." Eileen Wuornos. She robbed and shot 7 of her male clients in 1989 and 1990 while working as a street prostitute along Florida roads. According to Warnos, she killed them in self-defense after her clients assaulted or attempted to assay her. For 6 of the killings, Warnos received a death sentence. She spent over a decade on Florida's execution row before being put to death by lethal injection on October 9, 2002. Her last words were, "Yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus. June 6, like the movie. Big mothership and all. I'll be back, I'll be back." William Wickline. From 1979 to 1982, he was involved in at least 3 violent killings in West Virginia and Ohio. He was a career criminal and eventually became a serial killer. Wickline was found guilty of killing the victims whose corpses were never discovered and was given the death penalty before being put to death in 2004. His last words were, "May tomorrow see the courts shaped by more wisdom and less politics." Kenneth Williams. In Missouri and Arkansas, he murdered 4 individuals. After killing a cheerleader in Arkansas in 1998 and receiving a life sentence without the possibility of parole, Williams broke out of prison in 1999 in a 500-gallon bucket of pig slop. After shooting and killing another man and stealing his pickup a few miles from the prison, he accidentally murdered another man in a Missouri police pursuit. Shortly after breaking out of prison, Williams was found guilty of the murder he had committed and given the death penalty. He admitted in 2005 that he actually killed another person in 1998. His last words were, "I humbly extend my sincerest of apologies to the families I senselessly wronged and deprived of their loved ones. The families of Dominic Hurd, Gerald Jenkins, Cecil Boren, Michael Greenwood. I was more than wrong. The crimes I perpetrated against you all was senseless, extremely hurtful, and inexcusable. I humbly beg you your forgiveness and pray you find the peace, healing, and closure you all deserve. I'm not the person I was. I've been transformed. Some things can't be undone. I seek forgiveness." Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye-bye.